Hello readers and writers of the internet, welcome back. First off, again, I want to apologize for the lack of content. I am trying my best. It's a very, very busy schedule. Yeah, and like the 1 or 2 days that I had off, I'm like, I don't want to film, I just want to, do something non-productive. So we're here, and if you hear noise, it's my dog, and we recently got a cat, so he's trying to play with her. So sorry about that. So there's that. So this is going to be my September wrap up, and then my October TBR. So I pretty much had all the books already for October, so there wasn't too much to add there. Hopefully I can get through more of my TBR, my physical TBR. That'd be really nice, but let's just get into it. The Midnight Lie by Marie Rudkowski, I believe. This one, I don't know, I just felt like it had so much promise, but it has the same issue that The Will Calmer Darkness had, where it just felt like a prequel. It felt like it was just leading up to the sequel and nothing really happened. I mentioned this before, so I won't talk about it too much, but I did say that the dialogue felt very stiff. And that remained throughout the entirety of the book. Like, a character would try to say something and sound sarcastic, but it wouldn't come off that way. It'd be like, I don't know, they have different kits or, classes, whatever you want to call them. And the love interest is a high class, and then the main character is a lower class. And so she sees the love interest one day in her zone, and she's like, what are you doing here? And there were other low class people there, and like, what are you doing? This is a high class person, you're gonna get yourself killed. And it was just things like that that were kind of stupid. It's like, even if you do know the person, you still have to put on a show for the other class people because they don't know anything. So then they might say something that could get you in trouble. And it was just that kind of stuff. I gave it 3 stars because I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. It was just kind of meh. It didn't really leave an impression. I'm like, am I glad that I picked it up? I think so. Am I glad that I read it? I think so. It's just one of those books, which is really sad because the cover's really pretty, and the author, Marie Rudkowski, she's really, really good at just flowery, descriptive writing, in terms of details and that kind of stuff, rather than, action or dialogue, just describing. It was really pretty. But things would happen in the book, and they wouldn't go anywhere. I'd be like, that just happened for no reason whatsoever, it just felt pointless. It all just felt pointless, and it was so slow. And I know this sounds like I'm contradicting myself because I'm one of those people that's like, I like a slow burn book. I love a book that takes its time, but there is a way to do it in which those little instances of action or character or stuff like that, that progress the plot, the characters grow with it. There is a way to do it to where even if there is maybe pointless scene, the characters still grow. In Six of Crows, I wouldn't say there was a pointless scene, but there was 1 or 2 scenes where if it was taken out of the book, it wouldn't have hurt the book, but it was there because it developed the characters and their relationships. And that was really powerful. And here, something would happen, and they have the same conversation over and over and over and over again. I'm just like, okay, we get it. Oh my goodness, this is so slow. I want something to happen. I want some progression. And if I can't get the progression from my characters, I want it from the plot and or action. And I never really got that until the end. The ending, I would have loved this to be throughout the book. I would have loved it to be throughout the book, without spoiling anything, of course. I actually thoroughly enjoyed the ending. Did it come out of nowhere? Yes. Did I feel whoa, how did this happen? Yes. But I still enjoyed it nonetheless, So there's that. I don't think I'm going to be reading the sequel. There's really nothing to it. That's honestly about it. The Couple Next Door by Shri Lapana. I listened to this on Audible, and it was narrated by Kristen Potter. I really hated this book. I hated this book so much. At one point, I had it on 2.8 speed, and that wasn't fast enough. I'll give you guys a little soundbite here in a second, just so you know what I was doing. And, like, I could still understand what was going on because I progressively went up, so I knew what was happening.
Right. Anne had meant to keep herself to a limit, but she'd let things slide. She didn't know how else she was supposed to get through the evening. Now she has no idea how much wine.
But I was just like, oh my gosh, this is painful. Painful. Every single character was possibly the most one-note and stupidest people I've ever seen. The husband, oh my gosh, what are you doing? The wife, let's calm down for a millisecond, please, sweetie. The detective, there's no reason to have a detective POV in here. Take that out. The only reason I think that POV was in here was to make the book longer, but he didn't figure anything out, you know? Like, he would figure something out that the audience already figured out, so it was just rehashing. And I'm like, well, you're not smart, because we already knew that. The twist I saw coming from about midway through the book. Honestly, I did. This premise is so interesting, and I was so excited for it. It's basically these two parents, they go to a neighbor's party, right? And then their child is taken, like their baby's taken. I'm like, wow, that's super cool. It's not. It's not. It's not. I don't know how this managed to drag. I just feel so hopeless. I don't really think I can talk about this book without talking about the I just blanked on the word. The mental issues, I guess, in it. One of the main, I don't want to call it like a mental issue. I just honestly can't think of the word. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Let's just put in a nicer word for it, please. But one of the things that the mother has is randomly she's like, oh yeah, I dissociate. I'm like, okay. And like when she dissociates, she gets very violent, and she doesn't remember, which is like parkour of it. You know, when you do dissociate, you don't remember a big chunk of anything. I personally do not dissociate, but I know about dissociation, so I feel relatively comfortable talking about this. But dissociation typically comes from a traumatic background in which when you were younger, and that's just your brain's way of blocking it out and protecting you because you don't really understand what's going on. That's why, I don't know, if you're in a car crash when you're 5, you may not remember all of it, but if you have a car crash when you're 18, you remember it because your brain is fully capable of understanding what's happening. So that's basically that. But besides bullying, nothing tragic happened to make her dissociate. Like the way it was worded, I could have missed it, but the way it was worded was they were just bullying her, she dissociated, and she beat the absolute crap out of one of them. I'm like, that's not really how that works. Like that, and I could be wrong here, but that's not really traumatic enough for the brain to be like, let's protect you, let's just block it out, you know? So like that, I just felt was very unnecessary and just colorless altogether. Again, I don't dissociate, you know, anything like that. I'm not taking it personally. I'm just saying that I just felt like it was represented in a wrong way. And I know that wasn't the author's intent. So I'm not completely blaming the author. I'm just blaming the scenario in which it was put in. This book would have been better if she didn't dissociate or anything like that. But anyway, let's just carry on. The ending, I honestly don't know what to make of this ending, you guys, I really don't. Usually I love like a good grim ending, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't. Like, it ended, I was like, thank you, Lord. Thank you, God, for letting this thing end. Oh my goodness, I can't. I just can't. I can't. I just hate this book. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. By the way, I do wanna state that the narrator, she did really well. So it's more so an attack on the author. Well, let's just carry on before I lose my mind. The Cuban Comedy by Pablo Medina. This one follows the young girl of Elena. She is in Cuba. She lives in Cuba. And she is a poet, and she's just trying to move up in the world, but there's a civil war going on and other stuff like that. Now, I do want to preface this by saying that I read this for my class. I read it in about 2 days, because that's the time frame I was allowed. So, I read it in 2 days, so I skimmed. So this isn't going to be really just a full thing. I'll just give you like the rundown of it. I enjoyed the writing style of Pablo Medina. I really did. And I actually got to go to a Zoom call the other day for my class in which he was speaking. It was really nice to hear him read some of his work and talk about it. That was really cool. But again, I skimmed it. This could be false, but you know, I also skimmed it decently. This book went by a little bit quicker than I would have liked. I would have really liked to settle on just one issue, especially because the main character is female in Cuba, which is, at least when this book was written, very, very male-dominated. Women don't have any rights besides working, kind of, and making children. That's about it. So I would have loved to focus more on that and the revolution and that kind of stuff. I want to say the third act was probably my favorite. That's really how you have to divide up this book, because it feels like 3 separate acts. The third act was by far my favorite. The first one is a bit more comedical. Is that even a word? Comedical? Comedical. I can't remember. Funny. It's more funny. And just the way it's written and that kind of stuff. But as it progresses and she starts to see more of the real world, that comedy kind of goes away, and I really, really enjoyed that. You know, just her outlook on life is just changing, and the reader gets to read through it. Really enjoyed that. But yeah, I give it 3 stars. I don't really have any strong feelings or opinions on this, so that's really all I'm gonna say. That is it for the wrap-up section. Now let's move into the TBR section. I will make this quick, because there's quite a few to get through. The first one is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, as well as other stories by Robert Louis Stevenson. I started this book last night, and I actually really like it. I think I'm going to finish it tonight. I really enjoy Robert Louis Stevenson's writing style. I really do, and I'm going to cheat the other short stories that are in here. I'm going to mark them as Goodreads as like starting to read and then reading, because I feel like I'm behind. I'll do the math and figure out. But yeah, so if you see a bunch of those, it's because I'm reading this. I don't care if it's cheating. I'm doing it. Knock 'Em Stiff by Donald Ray Pollock. You guys know me. You guys know that I love Donald Ray Pollock, and I love, love, love The Devil All the Time. I've waited a year to read this, and I finally get to read it. This one is considerably shorter than The Devil All the Time, and this one, kind of the same premise. It just follows a family kind of in the Midwestern American town, and it just follows like the sad tragedy of life, essentially. I love his writing style. I love the way that he's able to take, you know, a scenario and just like make it so depressing, but like fun depressing, if that makes sense. So I'm really excited for this one. Can't wait to start it. So these I'm actually not going to get out of here because I'm lazy. But and these are in no particular order. It's just what I'm feeling for that day. But A Daily Education by Naomi Novik. This one I have talked about already, but it's essentially these people are going into this like assassin school, but they themselves can be killed by the school, and the teachers are trying to kill them and all that kind of fun stuff. I have talked about I forget what it's called. I think it's like the dreadlock worms. I have talked about that. If I can find the video, I will link it up there. But just kind of rehashing that this copy, she did take it out of like further copies, and this one should be a further copy, so it should not be in there. So kudos for her for recognizing the problem and taking it out. The Damnation Game by Clive Barker. Oh my goodness. This one, as far as I can tell, and I just blinked a little bit on it, but it's essentially this man, I believe it's after World War I or World War II, and he's depressed, he's playing a game, and then he plays a game essentially with the devil, and he has to try to win, otherwise he's gonna go to hell. I believe that's it. I believe that's the premise. I haven't read it in a long time. So yes, this one I actually found at Walmart. I was like, okay Walmart, look at you, showing me a book that I've never seen before. Good for you. But yeah, this one, it looks really interesting. It's kind of bigger, but I do really want to read it. And then for the last one we have here, we have Dracula. This one my neighbor actually gave to me, and I'm not going to buy like a new one until I've read it and I know that I like it, but hopefully everyone here knows the premise of Dracula. There isn't too much about it, so yeah, I'm excited for that one. And then in terms of Audible books, the first one that I want to listen to is The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutcherson, narrated by Lauren Ezzo and Mel Foster. This one I've kind of talked about, but I believe it's kidnappings, and he collects his butterflies essentially, and he tattoos them to resemble their namesakes. I think there was a movie about this. I'm not entirely sure. I think I've seen it. I don't know. It says The Collector Book 1, and The Collector, I believe, was a horror movie. I don't know. Poison Orchids by Sarah A. Denzel, narrated by Amy Horn. This one, I believe, is about another kidnapping. I'm not entirely sure. It's either that or cult. I just remember being like really interested in it. Oh, no, it's kidnapping. It's a kidnapping because he calls them his orchids. So it's a kidnapping. Silent Child by Sarah A. Denzel, narrated by Joanne Frogette. This one is about a young boy who disappears, and the mother, after years, I think it's like 10 years, she finally copes with it. But then as she begins to cope with it, he comes back. It's clear that he's been tortured and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But he won't speak, and he's the only one that can tell anyone what happened to him. So it's basically that kind of scenario, which I'm really excited for. But I should be able to get through all 4 of these, especially these 2, because they are the shortest of the bunch, so hopefully we can go by really quickly. And there you have it. There's my September wrap up and October TBR. Kind of better than previous month, this month in general, because I love spooky season. I just absolutely love it, so yes. Thank you as always for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. It means the world to me for following all my other social medias. It's Instagram, Facebook, and my other reading platforms. It really means a lot, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!